Hey guys, welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and this time we're joined by Derek Binder and special guest Ash Paulson, who's an editor at Udon Entertainment, in order to discuss all the latest news for Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS from this past week. So let's get right into it. Alright guys, so this was I would say actually a pretty good week for Smash news. Nothing earth-shattering, but each day had, for the most part, something new or offered some new tidbit on an element of the game. So starting off on Monday, we got a look at what I think is a new item. It could be an item or assist trophy, but I'm leaning toward item. Specifically, it shows off the Cuccos.
Yep, Cuccos.
Yeah. So the chickens from Zelda, and this is a brand new feature to the game. They've never been in a Smash Bros. Game before. And then Sakurai reminds us that a cardinal rule of the Zelda series is that you don't attack these guys.
I could see them being an item that you're supposed to not make sure that you don't attack them, and if you do, then you're gonna get mobbed by like a flock of cuckoos.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning toward as well, and I'm wondering if they might factor in, like in Ocarina of Time, you could grab one of them and you could fly for a short distance. So I wonder if that might be an element as well. Like, what if you could pick one up and like even throw it at an opponent and maybe have a cuckoo attack them?
That's the fun part about this one. There's a lot of possibilities. If it's just a standard item, it could very well just be a little bit more tactical in that you want to try to get that cuckoo into the line of fire of other people's attacks, so you can try to launch one of those special attacks. Or alternatively, you can use some of those other methods of view. If it's an assist trophy, I think no matter what happens, it's going to be like an all-out chicken attack.
Yeah, I agree with that, so that's why I'm leaning toward it being an item. I mean, the assist trophies seem to be reserved primarily for, main characters. So yeah, and plus we only see one in this picture, so I do think it makes sense for him to be an item, but one that would spawn more of them if he gets in the line of fire. So do you think they would end up attacking everyone in that case, or only the person that attacked them?
My guess is just like only the person that attacked them. This could be a really funny item where you're essentially picking up a cuckoo and trying to throw it into someone's attack so that person is the one who gets targeted.
That could be like the ultimate troll item.
Oh, it'd be hilarious to see, especially if maybe if you get multiple people to attack it, whoever actually attacks it could get hunted down. So even if you're the one that threw it, if you end up getting attacking this thing, you could also get attacked yourself. So it could be a truly chaotic item.
Alright, well, moving on to Tuesday's screenshot, we get a side-by-side comparison of what the 3DS version looks like, with the outlines turned on and off. And I was actually surprised, personally, by how big the difference was. Like, I kind of thought it was kind of like a gimmicky thing before, and I did appreciate that you'd be able to change the thickness of those lines. But now we get a side-by-side comparison of how that will look. And I've got to say, personally, I like it. I like how it looks better with the lines. What do you guys think?
No, I totally agree that it does look better with those lines. And I was unconvinced at first. When I first heard about, you can turn the lines off. Oh, great, I'll turn the lines off. But looking at that screen with them off, Link does really blend into the background. And I could see sort of being, maybe when it's in motion, a little easier to keep track of, but I can definitely see how having those outlines on would help a lot in keeping track of what's going on screen, especially if you're just playing with the standard 3DS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. I think it looks a lot better with the outlines, and pretty much, Derek, you just said everything I would have said. I think it definitely helps the character stand out against the background, and of course, I'll have to wait till I see it in person to judge for sure, but I can see myself wanting to play with the outlines on pretty much all the time, I would think.
Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that they positioned Link where they did for this screenshot, because if you move him either to the left or directly below, his palette would blend in perfectly with those with the background elements. So yeah, the outline definitely makes a drastic difference. Okay, moving on to Wednesday's screenshot, we get a look at another new item. This one being the Ore Club from Kid Icarus Uprising, and Sakurai mentions that it will be able to unleash tornadoes as well. Now, I actually went back and looked at footage of Kid Icarus Uprising of this weapon specifically, and sure enough, in that game it actually launched projectile tornadoes. So, presuming it works the same way here, I'm guessing it might function a little bit like the Star Rod, where it's both, you know, a melee weapon as well as one where you can fire projectiles off, in this case tornadoes, at a great distance.
I could see that being the case, and except a lot wider reach, obviously, because it's such a huge weapon.
It's gigantic, yeah.
What was I found interesting from that, I watched that same footage that you did, Andre, with the showing off the tornadoes, and the thing that struck me is that there were different sizes of tornadoes. So I'm wondering if it's going to have like a charging element to it, where the longer you charge up your swing with the ore club, the larger the tornado you'll be able to send out.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
So I guess it would be kind of like combining the super scope with a star rod, basically.
One thing that really stood out to me about this picture is how much better Sonic's character model looks than it did in Smash Bros. Brawl.
I thought you were going to say Sonic Boom.
Oh, no. No, just how much better he looks in this game. Like, they've really done a lot of work in his character model, you can tell, especially his face.
I think Brawl was sort of a last-minute addition with him getting into the game, so it
Yeah.
sort of makes sense that his model would look much better this time around.
Well, it was thematically appropriate. They would kind of half-ass Sonic's character model like they've half-assed most of his games.
Oh, jeez. That's a bark. That's a tree you do not want to bark up, dude.
Yeah, really.
The only other thing to take away from the screenshot, I think, this is taking place in an arena we've seen, I think, only once before, and we've taken to calling it, I think, Palutena's Temple. I don't believe it's been given a name yet. And before, we really only saw a picture of the background and a picture of Palutena's statue, and we weren't sure where the actual action was happening. And this time, we can actually see a little bit of the ground, a little bit of the platform they're on, and there's some weird structure behind them. So it gives us a little bit more insight into how this level will work. Not much insight.
A little bit, though. What's notable to me is the fact that Palutena's statue in the first screenshot was much larger than what we're seeing here. So what's interesting is that the stage itself looks to be taking place a lot further, like a lot closer to the screen than we initially thought. Mm-hmm. I always assumed it sort of like how it was in Kid Icarus Uprising, that the arena would sort of be at her feet. And from this, that doesn't seem to be the case. It almost seems like you'll be fighting along the outer ring of it, or something else entirely, because there's even a structure there that I don't quite recognize, with that little post that goes up that curls at the end, and the little bit of vines going up around it. So I don't really have a placement for this, but it's interesting that it's not, in the actual arena that's at the bottom of the Palutena's statue. Yeah,
I totally agree. It's I'll be curious to see more of how this level actually is going to work. Yeah, it's one of the ones we've seen probably the least of that I can think of offhand. Especially given Friday's screenshot, which I'll get to soon. Before Friday, though, we got Thursday's screenshot here, which is actually probably the weakest one of the group, because although it does confirm something new to this version of the game, it was in Brawl, and that being the assist trophy of Andross from Star Fox Super Nintendo version. And as far as I can tell, he's going to function the exact same way, where he appears in the background and launches polygonal platforms into the foreground that you'll have to dodge. I think it's cool seeing him back. I liked him in the original, and it's the original Star Fox is a game that feels almost kind of forgotten by Nintendo, especially because Star Fox 64 was essentially a remake of that game. So it is cool to see the game get some love, even if it's something we have seen before.
Yeah, he was always one of my favorite assist trophies in Brawl, so I'm happy to see him back.
I was quite surprised that they didn't update him to include his, Star Fox 64 appearance, where it seems like they could do much more with him, especially since he actually has hands in that version, that maybe he could change up the assist trophy a little bit while still maintaining the same character, where he kind of reaches, maybe he could sort of reach out at the players. Sort of a missed opportunity in my mind.
That seems to be kind of a thematic thing that I've been noticing with the new Smash Brothers, is that a lot of the veterans seem to not, from what we've seen so far, they don't seem to have been changed that much. They seem to be all very similar, so it'll be interesting to see if that ends up being kind of a sticking point for people, that people feel like a lot of the movesets and stuff are too similar to Brawl, or if they feel like it's been changed up enough. Yeah,
that's a good point. Most of the main elements we've seen returning from Brawl are very much the same. They're not really switching that up. In the case of Andross, I can see why they may not have updated his appearance, because you're right, Derek, he would have a lot more to do, potentially, if they updated him to the Star Fox 64 model, but that might be exactly why they didn't. Assist trophies are still relatively simple at their core, and there's so much, he could do, like with his hands, or he even had the same inhaling and exhaling thing. They probably just wanted something more simple, and you can't get much simpler than a 10 polygon faced character.
True enough.
All right, now moving on to what might be the best screenshot, or should I say screenshots of the week, being Friday, because it offers us a better look of what we now know as Prism Tower, which we previously knew as Lumio City, being the new stage they just recently confirmed for Smash Bros. 3DS. So yeah, he shows off 3 images, and it basically shows that the battle will begin at ground level in front of the tower before you take to riding a platform, and it'll eventually take you to the top of the tower where you'll battle on a few different platforms.
Well, I don't think this is quite a traveling stage in the way we typically think of it as a traveling stage. This sort of reminds me of sort of a mesh between the Fire Emblem stage from Brawl, where the arena shifted as time went on, starting at the top of the castle, then into the castle, then below the castle. And we're sort of seeing that in reverse here, except there doesn't seem to be as dynamic a shift. Instead, and this is where the mesh comes in, it becomes almost like one of the Donkey Kong stage in Brawl or the Ice Climber stage in Melee, where you constantly have to move up. Now, we don't know how these platforms will work. We don't know if all of a sudden this platform pops out of the ground and you gotta stay on it as it goes around. But what strikes me as very interesting is that the picture when you're at the very top of the tower, there are platforms to the side that don't seem to line up with where the battle's actually taking place. So I'm wondering if they're shifting around as you're battling.
That could be, but I think it just might be a perspective issue too here. I think that's a really interesting idea you had. So it sounds like to me you think, as represented by the second image, that instead of the platform moving by itself, you think that maybe you'll climb up different platforms, kind of like the Donkey Kong stage in Brawl. Is that?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it's hard to tell with just these 3 images, and especially since the one platform we saw seems to be the only platform in the line. Plus, it's sort of at a diagonal angle. It's not straight up with platform. So you might be right with it being a traveling stage, but I don't know. Just the sense I got, the fact that it moved up, I got more of a sense of Fire Emblem, but I mean, you definitely could be right.
Well, Sakurai himself does say that you'll have to climb the tower by securing footholds like these moving platforms. So the fact that he mentions you'll be climbing the tower and that there's multiple moving platforms, that does suggest you're right.
Yeah, the platforms are that's the trickiest part, because I could be right with my original thought, you could be right with your original thought with the angles. But we have to going on these 3 pictures. There's a couple different ways to do it, and personally, I hope it isn't just another traveling stage where you're on a platform, it's moving, and you got to move along with it, or something to that effect. I'd want it to be something just a little bit different, and that seems to be the case with these screens that we're looking at.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of wondering if there's a possibility that maybe it's like a Big Blue type stage or a Pokefloats type stage where the platforms actually kind of scroll by, and you have to keep the fight going while basically while platforming. So I wonder if it's kind of like what you said about him, or Sakurai said you have to climb the tower by securing footholds like these. I kind of wonder if the background kind of scrolls independently and dynamically while these platforms kind of scroll through the stage. That's
a really good point. I didn't even think about that, and that's actually probably the most likely explanation, especially because of that whole angular platform, like the towers, of course, sideways while
yeah, because it doesn't really seem like the platforms match up with the tower at all. So that's kind of what I'm thinking maybe is going on.
And it would sort of confirm the whole theory with the third picture, where there's multiple platforms in the background that you don't seem to be able to interact with. So maybe they're constantly moving, and you have to stay on these platforms as they go by. Yeah, that's. I think you might be onto something there, Ash.
It's possible. I do have my moments.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. The more they can make these arenas feel unique from past Smash Brothers games, the better. And that's pretty impressive, considering I didn't even know where else they could really go with level design to make it feel distinct. And it seems like if they do something along those lines, that would definitely be the case. Which is impressive considering how many Smash Brothers arenas we've played between now the 4 games basically, or 5 games I should say. Now the other interesting thing about these screenshots is Sakurai. You can see it in action, but Sakurai himself mentions that by the time you reach the top of the tower, the sun is already setting, And as we saw in the first screenshot of this level, revealed a couple weeks ago, that one took place, that one was at night. So it seems the time of day will actually change as you're climbing this level, which just kind of adds to the epicness, I feel, of it. Like, it really feels like an achievement when you reach the top, It's like, oh man, an entire day went by.
Definitely, yeah. I really like that element of it a lot.
Now, there's one more thing about the Andross screenshot I wanted to mention, and that's the caption for it, where Sakurai says, "Pick of the day, oh Uncle Andross, he really isn't very considerate." Now, it's not really that interesting, but it sounds like he's quoting, or by saying Uncle Andross, it sounds like he's referring to Andrew, his nephew, from Star Fox 64. I don't know why I know this. I play that game way too much.
Oh, I hear you. I do too.
I got the I got the reference too. Yeah. You're not alone.
All right, that's good. Probably nothing, but what we do here is look way too deep into things. So, do you think that might be a hint at Andrew appearing in some form, maybe as a stage hazard in one of these levels, like as part of Star Wolf?
I kind of like that.
Yeah, I like that idea. Sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, if we haven't actually seen a Star Fox level yet, so I mean, this might just be to be funny, honestly. But it could. I mean, I wouldn't mind having a Star Fox level where Star Wolf attacks you as you're trying to fight.
Yeah, I mean, if we wanted to take it really far, we could say that this is him very, very slyly hinting at Wolf coming back.
Oh, that's true as well. That definitely could be the case.
That's like taking it a lot of extra.
Yeah. No. See, we're not getting Wolf. We're getting Andrew instead. He's replacing Wolf.
That would be the best thing
we've always wanted.
Yes. That would be amazing.
Oh, come on. I want Pigma.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Just for his voice clip.
Yeah.
If only. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I think that wraps up for this week's Smash Brothers discussion. So thanks, guys, for watching. If you liked our discussion, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. You can find links to them in the description below. It's a good way to keep up to date with everything we post. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplain.com for more on Smash Brothers, Wii U, and 3DS and other things gaming as well. And make sure to check out, everything Ash Paulson does over at Udon Entertainment. He does a lot of good stuff over there when he's not, making videos for us. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.